About 24 House Republicans busted into a closed-door hearing on Wednesday. This is Representative Steve Scalise, and he's going to explain why he is so frustrated.
But as we got in there, Adam Schiff got up and left with the witness. Now you think about this. If you walk into a room and you turn on the light, and as soon as you turn on the light, some of the people in the room run out of the room, it begs the question, what do they have to hide? What are they trying to hide from the American people that they won't allow voting members of Congress to hear what's going on in that room? What is Adam Schiff trying to hide? I think that's a question so many people have, so many of my colleagues have, so many people in the press should have, is through those hidden closed doors over there, Adam Schiff is trying to impeach a president of the United States behind closed doors, literally trying to overturn the results of the 2016 election a year before Americans get to go to the polls to decide who's going to be the president. And frankly, it should be the people of this country who decide who's going to be the president, not Nancy Pelosi and not Adam Schiff in secret behind closed doors. The fact that Adam Schiff won't even let the press in, you can't even go in and see what's going on in that room. Voting members of Congress are being denied access from being able to see what's happening behind these closed doors where they're trying to impeach the President of the United States with a one-sided set of rules. They call the witnesses. They don't let anybody else call the witnesses. They don't even let the President's legal counsel question people who are making baseless allegations. Maybe in the Soviet Union, this kind of thing is commonplace. This shouldn't be happening in the United States of America, where they're trying to impeach a president in secret behind closed doors.
We're not in the hearing phase. No. These are preliminary depositions where evidence is gathered. Those aren't public.
No, never has been.
Now, if there's enough evidence gathered and there's enough votes to start an impeachment inquiry, the next phase would be public hearings in which Trump's legal counsel would be able to ask questions. Now, Scalise was mad that Trump's legal counsel wasn't involved in this process. They're not supposed to be involved in this process.
Right.
When the articles of impeachment are filed, the public will receive a full hearing.
Yeah. So they ended up delaying the testimony of Deputy Assistant Defense Secretary Laura Cooper by about 5 hours. She did eventually testify, and reportedly her testimony strengthened the notion that the security aid to Ukraine was withheld because of the investigations that Trump was, you could say, requesting or demanding.
Is that who he was talking about, Scalise? Like they rushed a witness out of the room? Is that who he was talking about?
I assumed that because she was about to testify, so I assumed it was her.
Pose a question to you. Now, why would a witness be rushed out of a room if certain members of the Republican Party barge in to closed hearings that have, let's say, a security clearance level? Now, why would witnesses be barged out of a room?
Because you're not meant to hear a testimony.
Steve Scalise, he's not on either one of the committees.
Right. So that's what. Okay. So there are 3 committees that are involved in this impeachment inquiry. So it's the House Intelligence Committee, it's also the House Oversight Committee, and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. So interesting. The number of Republicans that were there, I believe there were 40 Republicans that were in this whole, this like impromptu busting in the door.
The protest.
The protest of the impeachment inquiry. So there were about 40 Republicans. Now, I believe 13 of them are actually on one of the committees. So that means that 13 of them are privy to information that is, I guess, information that is gathered during these hearings. They're able to see all of it, hear all of it. They're also able to ask questions of the people that are testifying. And they have been. This whole process has not excluded Republicans whatsoever.
So you're saying they can participate?
They can participate.
Is that all, though? So 12 of the protesters.
I think it was 13.
13 of the protesters are actually on the committees.
Yes.
But is that it, though? Is there more?
Well, there's a little bit.
Is there more?
So the I guess the one that led this protest is Matt Gaetz. the Republican representative from Florida. He's not on any of the committees whatsoever. So he's mad. I guess he's mad because he's not privy to the information. But again, he shouldn't be because he's not on one of the committees. If you could hear Steve Scalise talking, he's saying that this whole process is unfair. They're trying to hide stuff. Mike just laid out that no, this is not public. It was never intended to be public. This is closed door hearings. They're supposed to be closed door hearings. He stunningly said the Democrats won't let the press in. Like, gosh, that is foolishness.
Why?
Like, think about law enforcement investigations, right? Whenever the police chief or any official representative, spokesperson for law enforcement talks to the media, and of course there's always questions asked, hey, do you have this information to give to us? Do you have this information? A lot of times you hear, I can't divulge that information right now. There's an ongoing investigation. You always hear that.
Because that's what phase we're in now.
This is the fact gathering phase.
This is the evidence gathering phase.
Yes.
So yeah. And there's a good reason why these depositions would take place behind closed doors. That way that they can discover conflicting information from witnesses. If these depositions were public or wide open or didn't have some sort of level of security involved, you know what would happen? They would be able to get their story straight.
Of course.
Any witnesses that were seeking to lie or create a false narrative, they can get their story straight. This way, one witness can come in, give their deposition, their testimony, whatever, as a witness, and then they leave. Another witness comes in. They may give conflicting testimony. You know what's going to happen with that first witness? That first witness is going to get called back.
Right.
That's why they do it like that, so people who are guilty of something can't get their story straight. But not only are there 12 Republicans that are 13, see? 13 Republicans that are on either one of the committees. Don't more Republicans have access? Aren't there like more Republicans that actually have access? Like, there's a Republican caucus.
Well, yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what Republicans have access to the information, but I know throughout all three committees, there's 103 members. There are 48 Republicans. There are 48 Republicans that are on these committees. These three different committees.
That's 25%. That's
Yes.
25% of the Republican caucus.
Now, there's one other interest. Now, again, we talked about that 13 of the protesters were, in these committees. But one that you saw right to the left of Steve Scalise is Jim Jordan. While Scalise is whining and crying about not being privy to all this information, Jim Jordan is standing right there. Jim Jordan is the ranking member of the House Oversight Committee. The ranking member, okay? He has been in, or he could have been, I don't know if he has been in every single one, but chances are he probably has been in every single one of these hearings. So if Steve Scalise or anybody else wants to know, all these other protesters that don't have access to the hearings, if they want to know what's going on, why don't you just turn to your boy that's standing right next to you? Jim Jordan can tell you exactly what's going on. But Jim Jordan, he wants to further this lie and further this, this belief that Republicans are getting screwed and like the process is unfair. So he had his own words to say as well.
Why don't we know who the person is who started this whole charade that Adam Schiff is now doing in the bunker of the basement of the Capitol? If you look at the whistleblower's complaint, page 1 of the complaint, he talks about more than half a dozen individuals who formed the basis of his complaint. We have no idea who these folks are. As I said last night on the floor of the House, 435 members of the House representing over 300 million Americans, and the only one of those 435 who know the individuals who started this whole thing, the only one is Adam Schiff. Why don't the rest of us know? More importantly, why don't the American people know? I think the American people, as I said before, they understand fairness, and they instinctively know that what is happening here is not fair. And that's why I want to applaud my colleagues, Whip Scalise and Matt Gaetz and the rest of the team here for standing up and saying, look, it's time that we know who started this whole thing. The more than half a dozen folks he referenced and said over the past 4 months, more than half a dozen people have informed me about this complaint that he filed. Who are those people? We've had 7 witnesses to date. I don't think any of them have been the ones that the whistleblower, the so-called whistleblower, was referring to. So we need to hear from them, and we need this done in the open so the American people can see.
We need this done in the open. We
No,
need
no.
this done in the open. That's just not.
No, that's
the
not
way
the
it
way
happens.
this works.
So okay, so the question is, like, why are they attacking the process as unethical, improper, inappropriate, and shadowy, even though it's routine? Why would Republicans do that? That's the question people need to ask. Why are they kind of misrepresenting this process? That to me speaks to some level of, I don't know, cooperation
Yeah.
on their part, cooperating with the Trump administration or giving cover to the Trump administration for some reason.
I think no doubt.
Like otherwise, they wouldn't even need to do this because this is all a misrepresentation.
But see, by their acts of busting into the door too, again, there was a witness. There was somebody that was testifying. And I can imagine that one of their aims is to intimidate people that are testifying. Hey, we're going to come in there. We're going to bust down the door. We're going to get a look at you. It's a very intimidating, like an act. You want to bust down the door, and like I said, and just disrupt the whole process. Another thing, though, is that by doing this, by staging this scene, by making this thing theater, they can sell that theater to the people and say, hey, you see what we had to do? You know what I'm saying? Because this process is so unfair, and you should know. You know, all the countless millions of you out there, Americans, you deserve to know what's going on. But no, see, not everybody is privy to this information at this time. Just like a law enforcement investigation, you just don't have access to everything. It comes in time. And yet, there's still stuff that is held back. You never get all the information. So to expect that where we are in this process right now, which is, like you said, the evidence gathering part of this process, to expect that all of Congress would know what's going on firsthand. All of the American people would know what's going on, I guess firsthand as well, because we have to have public hearings, is an outrageous request. And I know they're not that stupid. I know they understand that this is not the process. Like, the process that they're laying out is not the official process. So they're trying to do something else here.